Hello and welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Football Show. I'm your host, Joe Fair. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of our mystery guest's favorite football podcast.
No way.
That's right, our mystery
Is it?
guest. Stay tuned to the latter part of the podcast to hear our mystery guest. I'm joined, of course, by my illustrious producer, Joe Thiessen. How's it going, my dude?
It's going good. I'm actually glad that you brought up our guest host. She actually told me yesterday that he actually prefers mic'd up.
Really?
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, looks like it'll be his first and last podcast. Make sure, obviously, you listen to the Stupid Mic'd Up podcast with Billy, Nick, and Mike. Everybody loves their podcast. They talk about football and all that fun stuff. Make sure you follow them or whatever. But no, make sure that you listen to the Mic'd Up podcast. But yeah, we have a special guest for you guys today. We're going to keep it a mystery for now. We actually pre-recorded that part, and it was good. It was good. Really enjoyed it. A lot of good football stuff. A lot of fun banter. Really enjoyed it. So make sure you guys stay tuned. And we'll, when we start talking about the games, we will introduce our mystery guest that we've been hyping up this whole week. But Joe, how have you been? How have you been, Joe?
I've been actually pretty splendid.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been
That's good. That's good to hear.
I'm excited for our episode today.
Me too. I just, I'm feeling good. Feeling good. It feels good to be back. Both of us,
Good to be back.
both of us struggled with sickness this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're legally allowed to talk about this because of COVID happening.
I think we're fine.
I think we're okay. We were both very sick this week.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, we were recording last Tuesday. I felt sort of tired, but overall fine. I leave here, I go home, I lay down on the couch, and I could feel myself getting sick. I could feel it taking over my body, and then I was bedridden for 2 days. Just real sick.
And that was on Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
This is on Thursday, but last Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out Wednesday that Joe was sick. And then I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't get sick. And then
Instantly.
and I was fine actually until Friday. Friday you came back to work,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, it was lunchtime, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm getting sick.
Here we go.
Like, uh-oh. And then anyways, I went home, and then I was like, this is fine, I'm good. I had some Advil, and then and then by the end of the night I was throwing up. So.
Yeah, oh, good.
Yeah.
And that's always how sickness starts. You're like, no,
Yeah.
I'll be fine. It's probably nothing. It's just in my head.
Yeah.
And then it's not in your head.
Exactly.
Except for sinus pain.
Yes.
but
Which was
yeah.
a thing that we talked about.
Oh, 100%.
The pain.
The pain of the sinuses, your eyes hurt so much you can't even look to the side. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, we were both deathly ill this week.
Definitely.
But it's good to be back. It's the healthiest I felt since the last time we recorded this podcast, pretty much. So, good.
I think you need to get sick every once in a while.
Yeah.
'Cause whenever I get sick and then I feel better, I always feel stronger. I feel better. I don't know why.
I feel stronger, happier, more appreciative of where I am
Yes.
in life. 100%.
Yep.
But we won't beat around the bush too much. We have a loaded episode today. We have our guest coming in. We're going to talk a couple games with our special guest. He's going to give us some hot takes. It's getting cold outside. You're putting your jackets on. Our guest is going to give us some takes to keep us warm through the winter, some steaming hot takes. Why don't we just jump straight into the games from week 14? A really fun week. Some games were disappointing. We also had potential game of the year this week, Joe, unless you have something else that you want to talk about before we jump into the games. We'll try to go through them a little quicker today. Like I said, we have a loaded podcast today. But Joe, you got anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay, perfect. Then hit the music, Joe. First up, on Thursday, we had the Rams at the Patriots. And like I said, we're going to try to move through these games a little quicker because we want to get to our special guest because he's the star of the show today. But the Patriots get shellacked on Thursday Night Football by the Los Angeles Rams, 24-3. Cam Akers has himself a day. 29 carries, 171 yards. That's 5.9 yards per carry, people. Jared Goff played fine. The Los Angeles Rams defense sacked Cam Newton 6 times. Cam Newton was eventually benched. He's not playing well right now. The New England is not playing well right now. They're done. They're not making the playoffs. They tried to get people excited or scared, that they were going to crash the playoff party, but that's not going to happen. A good win for the Los Angeles Rams and a season-ending loss finally for the New England Patriots as they finally die. And then on to the next game, and it is the Texans at the Bears. You're wondering, why are you talking about this game so early? This game is boring because our boy Mitcher Bisky came back. He got himself a dub. That's what I'm talking about. Bisky is back. We're back in business. Bisky business.
We're back in Bisky.
Back in Bisky. I don't know. I was trying to do like another play on words somehow with like whatever. But Bisky played actually really well in this game. 24 for 33, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Allen Robinson had 123 yards through the air and a touchdown. He is awesome. And then you had David Montgomery going over 100 yards. Deshaun Watson played well, but he just cannot do it by himself. And I'm just going to say, ever since they put Mitch Trubisky back in the lineup, the Chicago offense specifically, is playing a lot better. And they showed that in this game, picking up a 36-7 shellacking. That's right, 2 back-to-back shellackings as the Bears put a beating on the Houston Texans. Then we move on to the next game. It's the Titans at the Jaguars. And you know what? Why don't we just go 3 shellackings in a row?
Are you serious?
3 shellackings, 31-10 victory for the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry is going mad. He's a mad lad, as they say in Europe, I believe.
You've never even been.
I've never been.
I've actually been in Europe.
I'm fine if I don't.
So
you had a layover in Europe.
I went to Paris. Man, it was nice.
All right, so Derrick Henry.
I don't know if I've ever talked about that on the podcast.
I hate the way that he's rubbing his chin.
I went to.
And he wants to go on a huge monologue about Europe.
Yeah. It was cold.
I'm trying to move on.
It was rainy.
You know who one of the kings in Europe was? King Henry, which is actually Derrick Henry's nickname. King Henry had 26 carries, 215 yards. 215 yards, Joe. How many fantasy points did he freaking score you this week with those 215 yards, 2 touchdowns? He's looking to go over 2,000 yards this season. He just about had 2,000 yards in this game alone on a terrible Jacksonville Jaguars team.
36 points.
Woo! 36 points from King Henry. El Tractorcito runs all over the Jaguars. Gardner Minshew was finally back in this game after Mike Lennon was lost. He looks to be starting the next game, but it did not matter in this game as the Titans are rolling with Derrick Henry, and this is his time of year. Who knows? They could sneak back into a potential AFC championship if Derrick Henry keeps rolling the way he is right now. And then on to the next game, and it's the Cowboys at the Bengals. And we have Andy Dalton getting a little bit of a revenge game in the 4th straight shellacking. It's a shellacking spree here.
Are you shellacking me with that?
I'm not shellacking you with this. The Cowboys defeat the Bengals in Cincinnati. Andy Dalton's return to Cincinnati, 30-7. Andy Dalton finishes 16 for 23, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Brandon Allen plays like you expect Brandon Allen to play. Aldon Smith had himself a 78-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. And like I said, dominating victory for the Chicago Bears. We're not going to talk about this game too much because it's 2 teams that are basically irrelevant at this point. Cincinnati just wants this horror to end. And Dallas most likely is cooked as far as the NFC East goes anyways. And then on to the next game. And you know what? Let's do it. 5 straight shellackings to start the show. This was what kind of a week it was. It was a week of shellackings, and this one was a 40-3 shellacking. The Seahawks defeat the 0-13 Jets. Russell Wilson finishes 21 for 27, 206 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Chris Carson had 76 yards. Sam Darnold played I mean, as well as you can play on that New York Jets team. A get-right game for Seattle after they dropped that game to the Giants. And the Jets, Sam Darnold came out this week, said he wants to be a Jet for life. And I would say aim higher, aim higher with your goals in life, Sam Darnold. You can maybe succeed elsewhere, but a huge win as far as the score goes for Seattle. And will the Jets win a game this season? It's looking less and less likely the further we go on. And then on to our next game, and it's the end of the shellackings. This one was actually kind of close. It was a Broncos playing the Carolina Panthers. It was a 32-27 victory for the Broncos. Drew Lock played well in this game. He played really well, almost enough to potentially give them hope to maybe bring him back another year. 21 for 27, 280 yards, and 4 touchdowns. No interceptions. Really good day for Drew Lock. Most touchdowns he's ever thrown in a game. Teddy Bridgewater played okay. Basically, he was our average Joe of the week. We don't really have one for this week, but if we want, we can give it to Teddy Bridgewater. Didn't do a whole lot. KJ Hamler had 2 catches, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Both these teams have a ton of young talent, but Denver's young talent shined brightly in this game at times. And then on to a game featuring 2 teams that just refused to win, and that was the Falcons at the Chargers. The Falcons dropped the game 17-20 to the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert finishes 36 for 44, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Matt Ryan has 3 picks on the day, 224 yards, and one of those picks was a devastating game loser. Justin Herbert was driving late in this game. He threw what looked like a game-losing interception in field goal range for the Chargers. Matt Ryan then leads the Falcons back into field goal range, throws what looks like a game-losing interception, and then it turns out to be a game-losing interception. So the Chargers and Falcons, 2 teams that don't know how to win. One of them, I guess, had to win this game, and that was the Chargers coming out on top. Then on to the next game, and it's the Washington football team versus the San Francisco 49ers. Washington walks away with a 23-16 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. The Washington defense played crazy good in this game as Alex Smith got hurt early. The Washington defense stepped up. They had 1 interception, 11 passes defense, 2 forced fumbles, 4 sacks, and 2 touchdowns. A Chase Young 47-yard fumble return, and also a pick 6 by a guy with the last name Curl. Never even heard of this guy before this week, but congratulations to him getting a pick 6. This was a huge domination by this Washington defense that can take over games, and they stay at 6-7 at first place in the NFC. So right now they're still a playoff team there in Washington. Then we have the Cardinals at the Giants, another NFC team, and NFC East team rather, but this one loses 26-7 to the Arizona Cardinals. Daniel Jones looked overmatched in this game. He did not look ready to come back from that injury. He finished 11 for 21, 127 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Kyler finished 24 for 35, 244 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He had 47 yards on the ground. DeAndre Hopkins has another big game, 9 receptions, 136 yards. But the big story in this game is the Arizona defense getting 8 sacks in this game. Hassan Reddick, a guy who has been an afterthought as a first-round pick, he had 5 sacks in this game. 5 sacks. That's insane. Good job for Hassan Reddick. Good job by this Arizona Cardinals team, beating a Giants team that looked hot the last couple weeks. And then on to the next game, and it's the Vikings at the Buccaneers. And the Bucs coming off a bye week. They get a big victory versus a surging Vikings team, 26-14. Dalvin Cook started off hot, 22 carries. He finished 102 yards and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins played pretty well, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers shut him down when they needed to. Tom Brady played okay. He only had 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Ronald Jones had 80 yards on the ground. But the Tampa Bay defense had 6 sacks of Kirk Cousins in this game, 2 fumble recoveries. They gave Kirk Cousins just hard enough a time to walk away with a victory as Tampa Bay recovers well off of their bye week and continue to win games at 8-5 And the Vikings not dead totally, but they have a big matchup this week against Chicago. Need to win that game to keep their playoff hopes alive. And then we move on to the Packers at the Lions. The Packers walk away with a much closer victory than I thought, but it was 31-24. Aaron Rodgers finished 26 for 33, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns. He might be the MVP frontrunner with, we'll talk about Patrick Mahomes kind of struggling in his game, but early on he struggled in that game. But Aaron Rodgers has not struggled in some time now. He's playing really well. Matthew Stafford got hurt in this game, and it was pretty much a wrap after that. The Green Bay Packers pick up another good win. Devonta Adams, just every week, it seems like he has at least 115 yards and at least 1 touchdown. That's what he had in this game. So a big division win for the Packers. It might have been closer than they were expecting, but the Packers now take over the number 1 seed in the NFC with, like we'll talk about in a little bit, with the New Orleans Saints dropping a game to the Eagles. So that's the Green Bay Packers now the number 1 seed in the NFC. Moving on to the next game, and it's the Colts at the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Colts walk away with a 44-27 victory. Another disappointing loss for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders just literally, have not won a single game that they've needed to win down the stretch to get them into the playoffs. And I would say they're about as good as cooked at this point, especially with the Ravens winning this week and putting themselves right back into playoff contention. I would say that the Raiders' chances of making the playoffs are extremely slim to virtually none. But the Colts played a good overall game. Jonathan Taylor has come into his own the last couple of weeks. He had 20 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns, all on my bench in fantasy this week. So shout out to Jonathan Taylor. Phillip Rivers pitched in 244 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. And the Colts stay tied for first in the AFC South with the Tennessee Titans. That's going to be an interesting race there down the stretch to see who wins that division between the Colts and the Titans. But a disappointing loss for the Las Vegas Raiders as they fall to 7-6 and virtually falling apart here at the seams.
Also, I just realized that I won this week in fantasy again.
No way.
Did you see it?
In the consolation round, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it does. It's wow.
Well,
see, I didn't check fantasy all week.
But I'm glad that you're choosing now to check it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
This is a great thing.
It's great. Wow, that's good. And
you interrupt me for a reason, or?
Actually, I interrupted you because I wanted to speak about our guest that we're having on our show. You're talking about Phillip Rivers and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and our next guest has something alike, shares similar qualities to this to these guys. And
in what terms exactly?
So, without further ado, Joel Dick, everybody.
Joel Dick, our good buddy Joel. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, please don't call me Joel Dick.
Joel Dick.
That's really awful.
Oh my goodness.
I hate that name.
Oh man.
Shout out Manitoba.
I'm really sorry that my illustrious producer introed you like that. But Joel, our good buddy Joel.
Amen to that. Yeah, and I do have stuff in common with Phillip Rivers. He has like 13 kids.
Yeah.
I have 1.
Yeah.
He has really poor mobility. I also can't run very fast.
Really? Well, listen, if I had to bet on Phillip Rivers in a race versus you, I think I might actually take you.
I don't have like 3 broken feet right now.
Well, yeah,
like
that's true. Not only is he the slowest human being maybe ever, but now his foot doesn't even work anymore.
Exactly.
It's like, okay. But yeah, Joel, you've become sort of a minor celebrity on the podcast.
Yeah, like every time I listen, and like that's often, all right?
Yeah.
And
you better. Yeah.
and I'm always mentioned, and I was like, Joe, you got to have me on because I'm literally always mentioned on this podcast.
100%. Joel is one of the few people that I talk about football to in my everyday life. Obviously, my producer Joe knows next to nothing about football. He did surprisingly name Phillip Rivers and Jonathan Taylor, even though I did just say them, but that's still, like, usually he's not listening. Usually he's watching YouTube videos on steaks or something.
Amen to that.
While I'm talking.
Who wouldn't want to,
But Joel, why don't you tell the listeners of the podcast a little bit about you, maybe a little bit about your football fandom. How long have you been a fan of football? You know, and you know, do you even like football? You know?
All right, so like I've always followed football. I listened to a band way back in the day, and I still do. They were named August Burns Red. They were my favorite band, and they were huge Eagles fans, like massive Eagles fans. And I was like 14, and I was like, I am also now an Eagles fan because I love these guys. And but I never really watched. And 2 years ago, I talked to my good buddy Oscar. He was dating my cousin at the time, and I was like, Oscar, I really like football, but I don't know what the heck's going on. Teach me. So he started teaching me, like he just was showing me kind of what was going on during the game. And I got really into it, and yeah, still an Eagles fan.
Love it.
Die hard for my Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly, you know.
Was there Super Bowl year the first year that you started watching football?
No, year after.
Really?
Year after,
so literally you didn't even get that at least.
No, I did not get that.
That really sucks. And another thing that I've noticed about you, Joel, is that when you get into something, you really get into it.
Yeah, my wife says that I'm like obsessive. Like I got into fantasy football and I just spent like 6 hours researching, and then into the draft I had like 3 pages of notes, and I knew exactly who I
100%.
wanted in what round and everything.
And you're still gonna lose to me in the championship. That's crazy.
Hey, you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
as long as a certain someone doesn't win, I'm happy.
Okay, all right. But I have noticed that about you. Most people would say, yeah, Joe's showing us his fantasy score again. Congrats,
Very
man.
good. Joe,
Congrats on potentially 5th place, man.
No,
really
you don't
happy
get to
for
keep
you.
your money.
He gets third place.
You don't get to keep your money.
Whoever
You're not even. You can't even get 4th place, man.
You're battling for 5th place right now, dude.
I don't want to play anymore.
You don't have to. What you're doing doesn't matter.
No, but it's good for you to keep, competing, keep, going out there and trying
Keep
hard.
that competitive
Literally,
drive, man.
you had the same record as Joel and I in your.
Then why didn't I get up in the big time?
Because you didn't have enough
How is this
points
going to
for
sound
it.
on the podcast?
It'll sound fine. Don't worry about it.
Fine. Because you didn't score. So really, your record was the same, but your team was not nearly as good as Joel and I's team.
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you. Maybe next year.
Yeah. So Joe Fair and I had, I would say, probably 2 of the best teams. 2 of the top 3 teams were in the same conference, and we're just beating up on each other the entire time.
100%.
And Joe was over here he was do or die. Like he was either crushing teams or he was not crushing teams.
Crushing teams or having half his team on bye or not even in the lineup.
Exactly.
No, you actually, Joe, I have to applaud you because you did a lot better this year in fantasy.
You put in effort.
Because I thought for sure, hey, week 7 comes around, Joe's not going to check his lineup anymore. It's going to be over, and he's just going to be like some other people in our fantasy team our fantasy league that are not checking their lineups.
Yeah.
But you did a good job, Joe. I give you credit. Maybe we should actually get into some of the games, Joel. You talked about yourself being an Eagles fan. I think you're also sort of a Bills fan.
Bills,
right?
yes. Bills are my AFC team.
Bills are your AFC team. I think you like the Chiefs.
I have a little crush on Patrick Mahomes. But
listen, who doesn't have a crush on Patrick Mahomes? I remember like a year ago, you kind of liked the Bears, but that's kind of gone now, huh?
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky. Like I know you guys really love him on this podcast, but
of course we do.
It's been hard. Yeah. It's been hard being a Bisky fan.
This week it wasn't, but we already talked about that. But why don't we just jump straight into the Saints versus Eagles game, Joel?
Yes.
What the heck happened in this game?
Dude, I would love to be able to explain that, but I don't. But you know what? Going into this game, we all knew the Eagles were going to win a stupid game eventually. Like we knew, I thought it was a couple weeks ago when they were playing the Steelers really well. I was like, this is the one they're going to just beat these Steelers, the undefeated team, and everyone's going to freak out. But they didn't. They lost the game. Yeah. And turns out we just needed Carson Wentz out, and we can beat a number 1 defense.
I think it was right around that Pittsburgh game. I kind of had the same feeling too, where it's like, the Eagles eventually they're going to, at least for one game, they're going to get their stuff enough together to beat a team that they shouldn't beat. But then when they lost that Steelers game, I think that's around the time where I was like, okay, it's not happening.
It's done.
It's just, they literally cannot, they cannot even come together enough for one game to play well enough. This was as surprising an outcome to a game as probably any game this season.
Yeah, their entire secondary got injured in this game.
Yeah.
They lost Jack Driscoll. He tore his MCL in the middle of this game and played through it, or he sprained his MCL in the middle of the game. And he played through it. Doug Peterson is actively trying to lose. He went on some fourth downs here that were just ridiculous.
I
He
know.
should have never went for him, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't. He doesn't give a heck.
It's
He's
crazy.
Going.
Few coaches I feel like in sports have fallen from grace as hard as Doug Peterson has
Yes,
fallen the last
yeah.
couple of years. I mean, he was a genius during that Super Bowl run,
Yeah,
because
Philly
of the Philly
special.
special and everything. Even though that was a play that Nick Foles essentially called, so he gets the credit for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has fallen so far from grace. But we haven't even talked about Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
Doug Peterson finally made what I think was the right decision in starting Jalen Hurts this week.
Yeah.
His first career start. And what does he do in his first career start? Oh, he just wins 24-21 against the number 1 seed in the NFC.
The number 1 seed in the NFC, the number 1 defense in the league, like just an impressive win. He rushed for like 100 yards, 106 yards, threw for 167. Just very, very impressive altogether.
Only
from
the
him.
second rookie quarterback in NFL history to run for 100 yards in his first game. Can you name the other rookie quarterback?
This is another.
Joe, here you go.
And this is the first edition of What Does
Joel
Joel
know?
Know?
Hey, so okay, let's do this thing, baby.
All right. I know the answer.
Okay, well, we gotta slow down, Joel.
Okay.
I don't know, you don't know how we do things around here,
Okay,
but we
okay.
really gotta hype this
I'm
up.
new.
So, what does Joel know? Thank you, Joe. That was producer Joe. That was tremendous. The question is, Jalen Hurts is just the second rookie quarterback to rush for 100 yards in his first career game. Can you, Joel Dyke, name the other rookie quarterback to rush for 100 yards in his first career game?
Lamar Jackson.
You are 100% correct,
Yes,
Joel.
that's what
Yes,
I'm
you
talking
are.
about.
Lamar Jackson, who we'll talk about later, also having a huge game this week, was the other rookie quarterback to rush for 100 yards in his first career game.
Yeah.
But I believe that Jalen Hurts played much better passing the ball than Lamar Jackson did in his first career game.
Yeah, he did.
Like, what can we genuinely take away from Jalen Hurts in this game?
All right.
You
So-
think that he is good enough to be the starter going forward?
Well, that actually comes into play later on, my hottest takes.
Ooh.
But we'll talk about that later. But the one thing that I think he does for the team is I think they'll keep playing him for the simple fact that Miles Sanders went off in this game. And Miles Sanders has been doing nothing with Carson Wentz under center. But I think the read option play is so huge. Like that option of giving it to Sanders or taking it himself, it really messed with the New Orleans defense.
100%.
And so like Miles Sanders rushed for over 100 yards as well. And New Orleans hadn't allowed a running back to run for 100 yards in what was it, like all season or like 9 weeks or something like that?
I was gonna bring that up. I think it's been longer. I think it's been even more longer than a season. I don't know exactly. I should have written that down, but yeah, I was gonna bring that up. New Orleans had not allowed a 100-yard rusher all season long.
Yeah.
I think even dating back to last season.
Wow.
If not longer than that even, but it had been forever. And in this game, two players, Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, rushed for 100 yards. It's crazy to see what this Eagles offense can do when you actually run the ball.
Yeah,
And
when there's like the most simple thing that you can do on the football field, you do that and it opens up everything else, right?
Maybe just give it a shot instead of having Carson Wentz throw over people's head for first and second and third down.
And that's another thing. Hurts is actually hitting Miles Sanders on the screen plays, on those little check down passes to Sanders. Wentz, I've been seeing it all year. He hits Sanders in the toes with all of his passes, and it's like throw it at him, man. But he
100%.
he misses him 100 times out of 100, and Jalen Hurts is throwing it right at Miles Sanders' eyeballs, which is really helping.
Which
him
is,
out.
as a quarterback, you should try to throw to your receivers.
You would
That's
think.
a fairly good option. I don't think I've ever witnessed a quarterback throw as inaccurately, as consistently as Carson Wentz has been this season. So it's definitely going to be a huge change of pace with Jalen Hurts. Doug Peterson is still not naming him officially the starter, which who knows what Doug Peterson is up to these
Yeah.
days? Even in his spare time, I don't know what that guy's doing.
He'll start.
Yeah.
He's got to start.
He has to start. But and for the Saints, Taysom Hill played fine. I think he struggled early in this game. His numbers probably look better than he actually played.
Yeah.
I think they're ready for Drew Brees to come back. Taysom Hill's been okay at certain points, but it just doesn't seem like Sean Payton really trusts him
Yeah.
as the quarterback.
And he got roughed up in this game. He got sacked 5 times,
Holy.
threw an interception. Like,
Yeah, it definitely was not his best game. But you know, how can you play your best game when you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, the best team in the NFC?
exactly. That's what I've been saying all year.
All year.
Best team in the NFC. We're taking the NFC East. We're going for it.
Oh,
Here we
goodness
go.
gracious. Here we go again. And now moving on from Joel's favorite team to my favorite team. And my favorite team did not have as favorable of an outcome this week. The Miami Dolphins dropping a game in Miami 27-33 to the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, despite only throwing 2 interceptions all season going into this game, he had 3 interceptions on 393 yards and 2 touchdowns, rather. So the Dolphins defense, you know, they did enough, I think, to win this game. But in the end, it wasn't enough because the offense was not playing up to par. Joel, I don't know if you caught this game
Yeah,
at all.
I did. And I thought, yeah, like what you said, it was a huge game for Miami's defense. And they showed that like they can really hang with like some of the better defenses in the league. Like Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw 3 interceptions against anyone, like ever.
Ever. He literally never has.
Yeah. And like, so I would be very encouraged if I was a Miami fan.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's honestly just really tough to hang with the high flying Chiefs. And
100%.
even if they do throw some interceptions, they have a good enough offense to make up for it later on, right?
And I think that was my biggest takeaway from the game. You can talk about Tua. Tua played well. He struggled again in the first half, and that's something he's got to fix. He's got to come out hotter. He finished 28 for 48, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had his first career interception in this game. But Mike Gesicki balled out. He had 2 touchdowns. He got hurt. Everybody was hurt for Miami in this game. I mean, they lost. They were down their top 3 receivers, top 3 running backs. They didn't have Mike Gesicki. They were missing a starting offensive lineman. They're missing. There's 2 starting linebackers.
Exactly.
It was brutal. But I think my biggest takeaway from this game is just how insanely good the Kansas City Chiefs are.
Yeah.
Because you have to play perfectly to beat this team.
They're like, do you ever watch any boxing at all? Have you ever heard of a guy named Deontay Wilder?
I have heard of Deontay Wilder. That was the guy who wore really heavy clothes and then lost the fight, right?
He's a total numbskull. But like, he has this crazy left hook where he just like, he hits you with it and you go away. And they call it in the sport like the great eraser. And I feel like for the Chiefs, they have the Mahomes to Tyreek Hill connection.
100%.
That's like their massive Deontay Wilder left hook. It's like, hey, we're like down 10 early. Shoot, what should we do? Oh, I know. I'll just chuck it to Tyreek Hill. He'll beat whoever, and we'll walk away winners.
And it's
like,
not even the scary thing is it's not even just Mahomes to Tyreek Hill. It's Mahomes to Kelsey. Kelsey was
Exactly,
huge in this game. It's Mahomes to Mecole Hardman. It's and then you add the running game hasn't done well this year, but you still have guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield, and they have players on defense. Chris Jones, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. Honey Badger makes plays constantly.
Yeah, he's all over the field the whole game.
Constantly around the ball. But it's just the Dolphins were up early in this game, like we talked about. They had 3 interceptions. Mahomes took a 30-yard sack at one point.
Yeah,
which was
I saw that. Oh my
insane.
goodness, that was nuts. That reminded me of Carson Wentz, honestly.
I feel like he on that play he almost thought that he was invincible, like maybe, which is fair. I mean, he's dominated the NFL, but he was like, okay, I'm just gonna run a while here, and then I'll be able to throw like I usually can.
Yeah, I'll bomb it down the field. That's fine.
Jerome Baker was not having that, but it was crazy. They were up 10-0, and really the Dolphins had dominated the game early on. Their offense did not take advantage of enough mistakes by the Chiefs early enough, but they were up 10-0, and just every single little mistake against the Kansas City Chiefs is so amplified.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you didn't convert this 3rd down. Oh, you're kicking a field goal instead of going for a touchdown. Oh, you missed a kick. Oh, that's going to kill you.
That's it. That's
because
done.
they were up 10-0, and just like that, the Chiefs score 30 unanswered points.
Yeah.
And it's like the Miami has to try to make a comeback, and I respect them for their valiant effort. They damn near came back in this game, and Tua had nobody to throw to.
Yeah.
Nobody was open, so I respect the effort in this game. But Kansas City is just too good.
Yeah.
They're just far too good for a team that has such a inconsistent offense. I really feel like a good comparison for the Kansas City Chiefs is the 90s Chicago Bulls.
Oh, yeah.
And I can see this turning into that. I don't know. You watched The Last Dance, right?
Yeah, oh, of course.
Of course you did. But I thought of this today at work, and I think when one day when Patrick Mahomes is retired and all this is over, we're old men. We look back and we look at the Kansas City Chiefs and we look at this era. I feel like there's going to be, just like there was with the 90s Bulls, there's going to be so many great teams that could not win a championship because they couldn't get past.
Because you're running into
you're running into a buzzsaw with Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, like as long as they can keep this core together, and who knows how long that is. I mean, they have a lot of guys on big contracts, but as long as they can keep this core together, I feel like they're the 90s Bulls, and there's gonna be a lot of good teams this year, like the Bills, phenomenal team. Any other year, and who knows, maybe they will win a Super Bowl, but like the teams like the Bills, teams like the Steelers were just 11-0, teams like the Saints, teams like that, Green Bay, they're good during the regular season, but you just know they have to go through Kansas City.
Yeah, and they're human. They're like human teams, where KC is like they're above human. Like whatever,
100%.
like they are almost perfect in every sense of the game.
Yeah,
right?
and it's the talent, and it's also Andy Reid just being a phenomenal head coach.
Exactly.
And it's just I don't know who's going to stop the Chiefs, but I'm intrigued to find out.
But if I'm you, coming out of that game, I am so encouraged. I'm like, man, we hung with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
We have like a great defense, and everyone was injured, and we still hung with them.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that's how a lot of Dolphins fans feel going out of this game. Is encouraged. It went from the beginning was just a fever dream. Everything was like, holy smokes, we're like dominating the Chiefs, to like they score 30 unanswered. It's like, this is so discouraging. To like, okay, this was a fine loss. Because they had nothing left by the end of that game. I do think that their playoff hopes took a huge hit this week with Baltimore winning again. We'll get into that later on, but hopefully, they can build momentum off this almost win.
Almost win.
But definitely, if you can say there's any such thing as an encouraging loss, this would be the closest thing to that.
Yeah. It reminds me of like the Leafs, like back in like 2016 with Mike Babcock, when he'd be like, "This was a moral victory, even though they lost." Like this is a character loss. Where we're getting better, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, keep celebrating those losses, and winners will celebrate wins.
Exactly.
All right, on to the next game, and it was the Sunday night affair between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if you caught this game, Joel.
Yeah, I did.
This was I picked the Bills going into this game. I thought they were gonna go in and beat a Steelers team that just suffered their first loss of the season against the Washington football team, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
the game started off kind of slow, sort of a not a lot happening in the first half, but I thought that the game really, really turned around. In the Bills' favor. It seemed like it was kind of Steelers had the momentum in the first half.
Yeah, because Josh Allen threw that nasty pick.
Yeah,
like that was like an awful pick.
Yeah, there was I feel like the Steelers had the momentum, but that pick six at the end of the first half by Teron Johnson had a huge pick six to give the Bills the lead going into halftime. And ever since that point in that game, it was basically, okay, this is a wrap. The Bills basically just coasted to the victory, and they walk away with a 26-15 victory. And I don't know if you have anything specific that you want to talk about in terms of this game at all, or in terms of either of these teams in general.
I just love watching Josh Allen play football. He's like so big and kind of awkward, but I love watching him. He like, people try to sack him and he just like chucks them off. And and there was like how much I love Josh Allen, but also like Big Ben did not look like Big Ben, right? Like he didn't look great.
No, he hasn't looked. The offense in general for Pittsburgh, I think, has been lackluster the last couple of weeks. They haven't been there. They have no semblance of a running game whatsoever.
I have James Conner on my fantasy team, and that is the worst pick I've ever made.
Yeah, he was good there for a while,
Yeah.
and then he just hasn't been healthy. And then when he is healthy, he hasn't produced whatsoever.
Last week against Washington, everyone was kind of saying like, "Oh, their running game will be better when James Conner's back." James Conner came back, and they still suck at running the ball.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and you look at the numbers like for Big Ben, he only had 187 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. You're like, oh, that's not a whole lot. But then you look at their rushing offense, and it's even worse. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no production there at all.
Exactly.
And I think that's, you can only be carried by your defense for so long
yeah.
before Big Ben has to be more than just a game manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to step up. But yeah, you talked about Josh Allen. When him and Stephon Diggs, they get going.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I thought they were going to struggle in this game because of like just Pittsburgh. It's the Pittsburgh defense. Their pass rush is so good. But yeah, they were still balling out together. They were still combining for great plays and everything.
Oh, yeah. There is a few offseason acquisitions that have paid more dividends than the Buffalo Bills trading for Stephon Diggs. I thought it was an overpay at first, but holy smokes. I mean, when him and Josh Allen are clicking, they're unstoppable. Like, Stephon Diggs seems to be wide open every single play.
Constantly. And Joe's pulling up his fantasy team again because
he's motioning the mic over.
Because it's because he got me 29.1 points.
Wow.
And
you guys could see the.
do we want to talk about my man Calvin Ridley?
No, we don't. Give Joel the mic back. All right. Stephon Diggs, there's few connections in the NFL that are working as well as that one. Big win for the Bills, and a back-to-back loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers after starting 11-0. They've now lost 2 in a row.
But we have to say nice things about them because Oscar listens.
Oh yeah, sorry, Oscar. Good. Wow, their defense is pretty good. And now on to the final game from Week 14 of the NFL season, and this might be the best game of the entire year.
Oh my goodness!
This game was a doozy.
As my supervisor likes to say, this was a slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker. You better believe it.
Better believe it.
It was the Ravens versus the Browns, and it finishes 42-47. I don't know why I keep saying the lower score first. That's almost never how it goes. But the Baltimore Ravens walk away with a season series sweep of the Cleveland Browns.
Oof, that's hard for our Browns.
That
Joe.
is tough. Me and you both really wanted the Browns to win going into this game. I think maybe for different. I don't know. We both like the Browns.
Yeah, just like Baker, Jarvis Landry, OBJ. It's just a fun team to like.
I remember early in the season when they were playing Cincinnati, that game, and then they started to look really good early on, and it's just fun when the Browns are good. When Baker's clicking on all cylinders, you got Chubb and Kareem Hunt clicking on all cylinders. It's just fun to watch.
Their running attack is so fun to watch.
Oh my goodness!
Chubb is he's like a bowling ball. You can't stop that guy.
And it's not fair. Like, you have Nick Chubb destroying, for 3 plays, and then all of a sudden you take him and you have a fresh monster of a guy who would be the starter on like 25 different teams in the NFL, and Kareem
Pittsburgh
Hunt
would love him.
Oh, 100%. He would come in and be an instant starter there in Pittsburgh, but he comes off the bench, and they are phenomenal. They each had over 100 yards scrimmage in this game. Baker played really well. He did throw his first interception in weeks, but he finished 28 for 47, 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But the big story in this game was Lamar Jackson. Action Jackson. He struggled at times this season, but in this game, he started off running hot. And then he had to leave the game for a little bit.
For what reason, Joe?
For what reason? Listen, I'm not going to speculate.
Can you say Paul Pierce at all, or
Paul Pierce? Yeah, we'll just say he had to leave for a little Paul Pierce situation for anybody that's who that knows what that means. But
it's just a good thing they were wearing their black pants.
Yeah. Somebody said that if the Ravens were wearing white pants, Lamar Jackson wouldn't have come back into the game. But okay, so for those of you that don't know, Lamar Jackson left in the fourth quarter of the game of the year. This game was going back and forth. He left in the fourth quarter because of apparent cramping. And you did see him sort of limping into the locker room, but people kind of immediately, for some reason, were speculating, "Oh, he's taking a poop."
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's
pooping.
pooping.
I think it was because of the hallway shot of him running to the locker room. He wasn't limping anymore. He was like sprinting towards but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, they really thought that he was just pooping. And then Trace McSorley, who is a TikTok legend, came in and he had to Trace McSorley. Look up the song Trace McSorley. Everybody loves Trace McSorley.
I don't want to do that, but I probably will.
It's very bad. But he came in. He played for a while. Marquise Brown nearly blew this game a couple times. I mean, he had a couple huge drops, and then Trace McSorley blows out his knee, and they have no quarterback left. It's 4th down and 5. They're down a touchdown. I think they're down 8 actually. Lamar Jackson comes in for 4th and 5, immediately throws a touchdown to Marquise Brown.
Oh my goodness!
The Browns come back with I think a 40-second drive for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And now there's just like a minute left, and I think everybody was thinking that's way too much time right now.
Yeah.
And the Baltimore Ravens come back. They set up the greatest kicker in the history of football,
Justin Tucker.
Freaking Tucker, to kick a 55-yard field goal, and this puts Baltimore right back into the playoff chase. Joel, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Baltimore is going to end up in the playoffs?
Oh man, let me pull up the standings real quick. Okay, let me give you a little, some proper thoughts
100%.
here. Okay, so we got Baltimore at 8-5, the Miami Dolphins at 8-5, Indy Colts 9-4, Cleveland at 9-4. We won't go any further past that, and then the Raiders at 7-6. The Raiders are pretty much they're out of it. You can stick a fork in them.
Yeah, you can
they're
stick
done.
a fork in them.
Yeah, it really comes down to the Ravens and the Dolphins. And sorry, my guy, but the Dolphins have such a hard schedule.
I know.
They're in tough.
And then have you looked at what the Ravens schedule looks like the last 3 weeks?
I've heard that. I haven't looked, but I know that it's like really easy.
It's literally probably the 3. I think I'll have to look it up myself too, but I'm pretty sure it's like 3 of the easiest teams you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
That they have to play. Yeah, so they have to play the Jacksonville Jaguars next week, the New York Giants, and then the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, that's probably 3 wins.
Yeah,
right
most
there.
likely 3 wins. So yeah, I don't think it looks all that great for Miami right now. This was a huge win for Baltimore. I think if I had to bet my house on it, as much as I hate to say it, I think the Baltimore Ravens will end up in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Miami will just miss out. But listen, it's a rebuilding year, good year for Miami, but a huge win for Baltimore, and that wraps up all of our games.
All the games
from Week 14. Let's move into our next segment. A little segment we like to call a news segment called Hot Takes.
Not hot cakes.
Not hot cakes. Contrary to popular belief, it's really cold outside, guys, right now. We're getting to the holiday season. It's chilly, even though we don't have any snow, so it's just miserable cold with no reason. So Joel's going to come in. He's going to keep us warm.
Oh.
He's going to keep us warm during this winter time with some hot takes, baby.
Oh man,
Joel, what do you got for us?
I got 3 hot takes.
Like, how hot are we talking?
Like, I would say they start. The first one's mild. The second one is, I would say hot.
Ooh.
The third one, I would almost say is an inferno of heat.
Ooh.
All right, like you're gonna want to call Dante on this one.
I love it. Joel is
right.
bringing the heat on his first podcast appearance.
There we go.
I love it. What do you got? What is your first hot take?
All right, our mild take.
Mild.
Maybe
take.
it's hotter than I
Mild,
think, but I don't know. My first take is that Jalen Hurts will be the starter for the Eagles in 2021 to start the season.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think we're gonna see a new coach, and we're gonna see a shift from some of the management here. It'll probably be a rebuilding year for the Eagles, if we're being honest. But I really think that they're gonna be shifting gears and maybe even moving on from good old Carson.
Good old Carson Wentz. I like this hot take, and I hope this hot take is legit. I like you. I also think that Doug Peterson is not long for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Maybe he somehow gets another year.
I hope not.
You can get a lot of cred off winning one Super Bowl.
Yeah, you can.
Like that can
yeah.
get you a lot of leash. But yeah, let's say they get a new head coach. And I think it all comes down to who they hire. And if that person thinks that they can fix Carson Wentz.
Yeah, exactly.
And it also depends. I mean, Jalen Hurts has 3 more weeks to show.
Yeah.
If he continues to play how he played this week, I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah. And if you can trade Carson Wentz for anything, like just to get his salary off your books,
100%.
you're saving yourself so much money by playing Hurts instead of that. And
Yeah.
I think that's really worth it.
And I think that, yeah, you talked about it'll probably be a rebuilding year. I think that they have to tear things down after this year.
We are so old.
Yep.
We're like the old. We got to be one of the oldest teams in the league.
There's guys. I mean, listen, Jason Peters was playing on this team this year. That
Yeah.
guy is at least 45 years old.
Yeah, he's
I
old.
mean, goodness gracious. Yeah, they're gonna have to do a little bit of a teardown. I like this. I like this hot take. Let me know, guys, the listeners of this podcast, what you guys think of Joel's hot takes. Do you think that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter next year? But if I have to say whether or not I agree with this hot take or not, I'm gonna say I agree with this hot take. I'm gonna
Whoa,
say I
agree.
agree just because I like it. I
There we
want it
go.
to happen.
I also want it to happen.
I want it to happen. So let's put it out in the universe.
There we go.
And let's make it happen.
Actually, I want to say I disagree. Personally.
Really?
Like Jalen Hurts is he's good. He's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, how many games does he play this season?
Well, he started 1 game.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So how many games is okay? Carson Wentz not good, right?
Not good.
Jalen Hurts so far so good,
Yes, exactly.
but he's
So-
also played 1 game,
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, this
and he has what 3 more games?
3 more games.
So 4 games out of what another 13, 12 games that Carson Wentz played.
that is math.
Okay.
Very good.
Quick
Yeah.
maths.
So
Yeah, but is 14 horrible games better than 4 good games?
he has more experience this year. Personally,
I love that.
I just don't think that Jalen Hurts quite has it. But anyways, back to you, Joel.
Some would say Hurts so good.
You know what? I was just gonna say the truth hurts.
Truth
and,
hurts.
and like that. The truth on that
Yeah.
take hurts. All right.
And that does hurt. Joel, what do you got next for our
Okay, the next
hot take?
one. The next one I can't take full credit for.
Okay.
This is my old buddy Oscar Redicop. He sent me this one. And he says, I agree, you know, I'm bought into this. And I don't know if you're gonna like this one as much.
Uh-oh.
I think that Carson Wentz will be moving on. He'll be
Okay.
moving on from my Eagles.
Okay.
And he will be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Whoa!
And they'll win the Super Bowl next year with him.
Holy smokes! This is a burning hot take.
All right, maybe it's a little hotter than just hot. I mean, you know,
there is a lot. Well, it's just that there's a lot involved here. Not only does
There
Carson Wentz have to leave Philadelphia,
he has to rebuild himself.
yeah, he has to, and he has to go to Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and then Pittsburgh has to win. So all of these things have to be true for this hot take to be good. I don't like this one as much. I'm gonna say if Carson Wentz does leave, I could see him going to a place like Pittsburgh. We've seen rumors that he wants to go somewhere with a little less pressure. Which, I mean, come on, grow
Come
up,
on, grow up.
grow up,
Grow
Carson.
up,
Wentz.
Carson
I mean,
Wentz.
people are saying, "Oh, he couldn't handle the pressure with Jalen Hurts behind him." You're a grown man.
Hey, try working at Remtech,
Yeah.
right? We got a lot of pressure
There's
going
a lot
on.
of pressure, man. You're a professional athlete. There's gonna be pressure, but seeing him in Pittsburgh, I wouldn't mind to see that. I think there's a good chance Big Ben might be done after this year.
He was talking about it, I think, just last week about how if he's not playing well, then he needs to retire. So
Well,
it seems
he's
like,
basically
yeah.
been talking about retiring for like 5 years already. But even if he's not gone, maybe bring Carson Wentz in,
Exactly.
have him learn, and hopefully rebuild his everything.
hmm I just think like Carson behind their O line and with that defense and those receivers, like if he can be like 2/3 of what he was, he will they'll have a really good year.
Well,
They'll,
yeah.
they'll have a great year.
It's so weird too because like the Steelers have all these receivers, and like Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster. They're like a receiver factory, but they've struggled so much with drops the last couple
Yeah,
of weeks. That's
exactly.
so bizarre to me. Deontay Johnson had some huge drops in that game against Buffalo. So weird, but yeah. That would be a good spot for Carson Wentz. I like it. I'm gonna say I don't agree with this hot take 100%. I could see Carson Wentz maybe going to Pittsburgh, maybe going to Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indy. That's also
Go
another
back
good
with Frank
spot.
Reich. I could see him going
Yeah.
there, but I don't think Pittsburgh's winning the Super Bowl next year. Oh, but their defense is really good.
But the Chiefs still.
yeah,
That's like
yeah, the Chiefs still.
yeah. I believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think, and I think they'll have a good playoff run this year yet.
Mm.
But then if you add in like a dynamic quarterback there, you got like a really scary
Well,
team.
I think they're definitely if Big Ben was the old Big Ben, I think this team would be like unstoppable. They would be
Exactly.
right up there with the Chiefs. But yeah, who knows? Maybe Carson Wentz can be that next year. But
Hey, there you go.
why don't you give us your final? This is one you said was mucho picante. Am I right?
Mucho
Mucho
picante.
Muy caliente.
I am nearly certain you will not agree with this one.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Lay it on us, Joel. What is your last hot take? here?
Last hot
I think I know what
take.
this one is.
You know?
I think I know what this one is.
All right, well, let's see. The Saints
Do it.
will lose in round 1 of the playoffs.
Ho ho ho!
I do not believe in the Saints.
Really?
I don't believe in their whole
Okay.
quarterback questions and everything.
Mm.
And right now they're slated to play the Cardinals. Could be like the Bucks. Any of those teams they could wind up playing. But yeah, I don't believe in them, not one bit.
Okay, I like this. I like this take. I think we were just talking off air. I don't know if it was yesterday or when it was, but I think we both felt like no team needed home field advantage more than the New
Exactly.
Orleans Saints.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think they're just a different team in that dome.
Yeah,
And they go into Philadelphia this week and they lose to Philadelphia.
yeah.
I don't know if that had anything to do with them being out in the cold, but I mean, it certainly probably doesn't help. They are such an explosive offense on turf.
Yeah.
And it's just not the same, I don't think, when it's not in that home turf. So in that sense, I agree. Now, losing in the first round,
First round to
first round,
Arizona.
To Arizona.
I love Kyler and I love D Hop on that
Okay.
team. And I think that they can do something special in 1 week. 1 week, one game. I give them I give them a good shot.
here's my thought process. I don't think that they would lose to Arizona. I don't believe in Arizona. I think they were a flash in the pan there for a little bit. I think they're going to need a little bit more time to rebuild. Here's a team though. If all of a sudden Minnesota
Yes,
found a
yeah.
way to get into that seventh, is it even possible for them to get into that seventh seed?
Yeah. Well, they got 2 more weeks. They would
Okay,
have to
yeah,
win out,
you
and
would.
Arizona would have to lose at least 2 games.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Okay. So let's say if Minnesota winds up in that seventh seed, 100%.
Yeah.
Minnesota has been the boogeyman for New Orleans.
They lost to him last year.
They lost to him last year
Yeah.
on that
That
Kyle
was a great
Rudolph
game. Oh my
touchdown
gosh.
at the end. The Minnesota Miracle
Yeah.
was against them. So listen. I'm going to say I don't agree with this take specifically when it comes to the Cardinals. But if Minnesota sneaks in there
Yeah.
in that seventh seed, I could totally see it. Just it's those same demons rearing their ugly head against
Hey,
the New Orleans Saints.
This take is open to any team.
Okay, all right.
It loves all teams.
And that-
I don't even care. It could be the Bucks. It could be Arizona or the Vikings. Heck, even Mitch Trubisky's Bears. I don't
dang right.
believe in the Saints enough that I would bet the Bears instead of the Saints.
Wow, that is crazy. Okay, all right. I don't know if I'm there yet. As much as
Not
I,
on the Bears.
as much as
Not
I
on the
like,
Bears, just
as
on the
much as I
Vikes.
love Mitchell. Listen, I don't trust his team around him, but I agree when it comes to not trusting the Saints. They seem to do this every year. They're fool's gold in the regular season. You're like, team is dominant.
Exactly.
And then they get to the playoffs and they choke it away, and it's often
Every
to
year.
that team wearing purple.
Yeah.
So I like these hot takes, Joel. These were good hot takes. Let us know what you guys think about Joel's hot takes. Go to his house. Send him something in the mail. Let him know what you think about his hot
Yeah.
takes.
Yeah.
And then, you guys can fight it out from there. But Joel, you've been a real treat
That's all I seek to be,
on this week's episode. You've been great. Before you leave, do you want to get into next week's picks?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about
you feeling
this.
next
Yeah.
week's picks?
I got some next week's picks. Now,
Okay.
I have to give a disclaimer on these picks. I'm pretty sure I'm in last in our Survivor pool. It was me who convinced Joe to pick the Eagles in week 1. So I'm the reason that we lost out of our Survivor pool in week 1. Picks, not my strong suit.
No, okay, not for Joe. Are you okay?
Just
I just realized that I have not made my pick. That's bless you.
Like for how long?
Probably I think week 6.
As soon as you started laughing, I figured that's what it was about. I think a lot of people just kind of gave up on that when it didn't go their way early.
Yeah,
but
it's hard, right?
but you know,
that's absolutely my bad.
I would say that I'm the master of picks. Joel, you know, he's kind of a rookie. He's not getting there
Yeah.
totally. But why don't we jump into week 15's picks and we start things off with our weekly Thursday night coffee pick, Joel.
There you go. Okay. We got Chargers and Raiders. I just saw Henry Ruggs is not playing in this game, but I'm still going to take the Raiders.
Really?
Even though I don't really believe in them and I don't think that they're very good, but Justin Herbert and the Chargers and Anthony Lynn as a coach is just not good.
I agree.
I'm going Raiders.
Okay, but since you're going Raiders, you want to go back to real quick betting a coffee on this
Yeah,
one?
of course.
I'll go opposite. I'll say the Chargers win this game. I don't like where the Raiders are at right now. I think they're on a slide.
Yeah, their headspace is not good.
They're not in a good spot. I'm going to say Justin Herbert has himself a good game. Austin Eckler goes off for you in fantasy.
I hope
for
so.
you in fantasy. I'm going to say the Chargers beat the Raiders on Thursday night. But then we go on to the Saturday.
Saturday, I
game.
love Saturday games.
Saturday
is so
games,
fun.
baby. We're at that point of the season. The next 2 weeks, I think 2, or is it even 3 weeks? There's Saturday games. I don't know. Maybe we should have looked that up before. But who cares? We have Buffalo at Denver.
You know I'm going Bills. Baby.
You got to go
baby.
Bills.
You got to go
As
Bills.
good as Denver played this week, Drew Lock played pretty well. I think there's not a hotter team in the NFL right now. But then maybe the Chiefs. But other than that, there's not a hotter team than the Bills. I'm going to pick the Bills as well.
Exactly.
And then the late game, Carolina at Tampa. Carolina at Green Bay.
I got the Packers. I got the Pack.
I got the Packers as well. I don't think Carolina has quite enough firepower to beat or to stop that Aaron Rodgers led offense.
Aaron Rodgers is on another level. It's hard to bet against him now.
I think he's the favorite for the MVP right now, especially
You'd
with
have to
Mahomes throwing 3 picks this last week.
Yeah.
I think it might be his award to win at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then on to the next game, the 1 o'clock games on Sunday, and it's New England at Miami. And tread lightly, Joel.
Oh, I know. I knew I was coming into some hostile territory here with this one. But I did not pick the Pats because
thank goodness.
Cam Newton is not good.
All right.
I don't believe in anything to do with New England, so I am taking the Fins.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to take Miami too. Miami needs to basically win out to make the playoffs. They need to win all 3 games. I'm going to stay optimistic and say that they beat New England this week, and who knows what goes on the next couple of weeks. But then we move on to Houston and Indianapolis.
I'm taking Indy on this one.
I'm going to take Indy as well.
Definitely Indy.
Yeah, Houston's kind of a mess. They're missing everybody
They
right
got
now.
no receivers.
Yeah.
They got nothing.
Nothing. Detroit at Tennessee.
We're taking the Titans.
Yeah, we don't have to give that one much thought.
Yeah.
That's going to be the Titans winning that one.
Derrick Henry's going to get 2,000 yards rushing this year.
Oh, I thought you meant in this game.
Oh, no.
Well-
Maybe in this game.
Yeah, he might. This is not a good Detroit
But on the
Lions
season.
defense. But Tampa Bay at Atlanta.
Ooh, that's definitely going to be the Buccaneers.
I'm gonna say Buccaneers as well on that one. And then we go into Jacksonville at Baltimore.
Ooh, real tough pick here.
Yeah.
Looks like Gardner Minshew might be starting. And as much as I hate to go against my boy Minshew,
Yeah.
it's it's not going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No,
that's for sure.
as much as I would love to have Baltimore lose this week, because I'm a Dolphins fan, I can't. Baltimore, I think, is playing well right now. And going to be, really confident coming off that Browns win.
Yeah,
They're going to beat Jacksonville. I think it's not going to be close.
they're going to stomp them.
Yeah, let's go Chicago, Minnesota.
Ooh, big game. This is
Okay.
huge for the
It's-
playoff picture.
yeah.
Whoever loses this one is pretty much out.
All right.
And I gotta roll with my Vikings. I love
Really?
their uniforms. Love Dalvin Cook.
Love
I
it.
like everything about them.
I'm gonna go a little contradictory on this
There.
one. I'm going with our boy Biskey.
There you go.
He's playing well. Honestly, we talked about he played really well this week. This offense is different with him in there. I'm gonna say he picks up a huge win against the guys wearing purple. Chicago is gonna beat Minnesota this week, and then with Seattle at Washington.
Oh, I got a spicy one here. It's
Ooh.
Smith is starting. It looks like Antonio Gibson's coming back.
Oh.
I love the Washington defense. I am going Washington football team on this one.
Washington football team. I was very tempted to go Washington football team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do win this game. But I'm just going to say Seattle. I hope they pick up this win. This is a game you got to win if you're going to be a contender. So I'm going to pick Seattle to win this game. And then San Francisco at Dallas.
Ooh, this is a big game for nobody, essentially. I'm going to go San Fran for sure.
All right. I think I'm going to go San Francisco as well. Dallas had a nice win this week. But I think Kyle Shanahan is just a better coach than Mike
he's a better
McCarthy.
coach.
And I think that will give them the upper hand. And then the New York Jets versus the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I'm going Jets on this
Oh,
one.
really?
No, I'm not going Jets.
All right. I should have known. Yeah, I'm going to go Rams as well. I don't think we need to discuss that
No,
very
not at
much. And then Philadelphia at Arizona.
Ooh,
Here's a
I'm
good
going
one.
Eagles because I'm dumb and I like getting my heart broken.
I'm going to go Eagles as well.
What?
I am.
Like actually?
Yes. I'm
Oh wow,
serious.
I'm a little bit. I know that they're gonna lose, but
Yeah.
I don't think that they'll win.
I talked about earlier. I just don't believe in Arizona right now. I don't think they're in a good place right now. I think that Philadelphia defense is playing angry right now, and if they play that same way against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, I think they'll pick up a win this week, and just stay alive as long as possible, so that we have to keep talking about.
Listen,
them.
I hope you're right because if you are right about everything, then the Seahawks will have beaten the football team, and the Eagles will have won. So then the Eagles will be within striking distance for the playoffs.
That's
so.
very true. Hopefully, we are right, and we have something else to talk about next week on the podcast. And then Kansas City at New Orleans. This is a good game.
This is Joel's lock of the week.
Whoa!
All right, and we're taking the Chiefs.
Dang, I did not know you were going to go lock of the week. I actually totally forgot about lock of the week until now. But yeah, I'm going to pick Kansas City too. It's not my lock of the week. I'm going to say Kansas City beats New Orleans. And then we have Cleveland at the New York Giants.
Ooh.
And this is my lock of the week.
Oh,
I'm going to say Cleveland beats the New York
that's
Giants.
a lock, really. I
Yeah.
almost picked the Giants in this one, but I
Really?
just like Baker. I can't bet against. They got a soft spot in my heart,
Oh,
so I'm going Browns as well.
100%. I just want the Browns to win. So that's why they're my lock of the week. And then Pittsburgh at Cincinnati to finish things off.
That's definitely gonna be Steelers.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Steelers too.
Big rebound
Cincinnati,
game.
they're ready for the season to be over.
Yep.
They're ready to get Joey Burrow back.
Mm-hmm.
But that wraps up today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Joel, I hope you enjoyed.
No, I did enjoy.
Yeah,
it.
I really
It was a great
enjoyed
time.
having you on the podcast. You got anything you want to plug before we wrap things up?
Not
here?
a single thing.
No,
Yeah.
very good, Joel. That's very humble.
I listen. I got a 8-week-old son. Check him out on Instagram.
Check him out
He's
on
cute.
Instagram. He doesn't have his own account yet, but just wait a couple years.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joel, I really enjoyed having you on. Hopefully you can come on in the future again.
Yeah, I hope
if you're
so.
down. If you guys enjoyed the episode, make sure you give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at _AverageJoe Show, and we will catch you guys on the next one.